The evening started like any other. Danielle Harper stood in the kitchen, stirring a pot of pasta sauce. The scent of tomatoes and garlic filled the air. She picked up her phone and called her 16-year-old son, Tyler. It rang a couple of times before he answered. "Hey, Mom," he said. His voice was calm but distracted. "Hi, just wanted to remind you, dinner's almost ready," she said. "Yeah, I'm coming. Leaving now." "Okay, don't forget your jacket. It's cold." "Got it." The line clicked. She assumed he'd hung up. Danielle placed the phone on the counter and went back to stirring the sauce. She hummed softly, trying to keep the quiet of the house feeling warm. The TV played softly in the other room. Outside, the sun had nearly set. Then, from the phone, came a voice. "She still doesn't know, does she?" It was a girl's voice. Low, serious. Danielle turned quickly, confused. Was that the TV? "No," came Tyler's voice, clearer now. "If she finds out what he did, it's over." Her breath caught. She looked down. The call was still going. Tyler hadn't ended it. She picked up the phone, her fingers shaking. She pressed it to her ear. Muffled sounds. Movement. Maybe a car door closing. Then nothing. She stared at the screen. The call timer was still going. 4 minutes and 18 seconds. She tapped end. Silence. Her mind raced. What did that mean? What secret was Tyler talking about? Who was the girl? And then, what hit hardest? What did Marcus do? Marcus, her husband, dead for 2 years. The man she had loved, mourned, cried for. The man whose absence still hurt every single day. What could he have done that was bad enough to make Tyler afraid? Danielle slowly sat down at the kitchen table. Her hands wouldn't stop trembling. She opened the call log and played the voicemail again, this time putting it on speaker. She still doesn't know, does she? Number, if she finds out what he did, it's over. She played it again and again, like the words might change if she heard them enough, but they didn't. Her chest felt tight. She didn't touch her dinner. She didn't even notice when the sauce started to burn. That night, she didn't sleep. The words played over in her mind like a broken record. Something was wrong, very wrong, and now that she'd heard it, she couldn't pretend not to know. Danielle Harper used to be full of energy. She used to smile without forcing it. But since Marcus died 2 years ago, something inside her had gone quiet. Every day felt like walking through thick fog. She worked hard, kept the house clean, paid the bills, and tried to be a good mother. But most days, she was just trying to get through. She worked as a legal assistant at a small law firm in town. The pay wasn't great, but it was steady. Her boss, Mr. Kramer, was demanding. He barked orders, expected late hours, and barely said thank you. Still, Danielle kept her head down and did her job. The bills didn't care about how tired she was. Most mornings started the same. She packed a quick lunch, left a note for Tyler, and rushed out the door before the sun came up. She told herself things would get better soon, but lately, she wasn't sure what better even looked like. Tyler had changed too. At 16, he was smart and thoughtful, but he had grown distant. He didn't talk much anymore. When he wasn't at school, he was in his room with the door shut, earbuds in, face lit by a screen. They used to watch movies together, laugh over breakfast, share little jokes. Now, she was lucky to get more than a few words out of him each day. At first, Danielle thought it was just grief. They both missed Marcus. Tyler had been so close to his dad. They used to shoot hoops in the driveway, play video games, and build weird science projects together. When Marcus died, it felt like the house lost all its sound. But lately, Danielle had begun to feel something else, a quiet suspicion. Tyler wasn't just sad, he was hiding something. He came home late, avoided eye contact, and always seemed nervous when his phone buzzed. That phone call she overheard, the one he forgot to end, had confirmed it. There was something he wasn't telling her. The only person Danielle talked to about Marcus anymore was Renee, his sister. Renee had always been the calm one. After the funeral, she helped Danielle with the paperwork, sat with Tyler when Danielle had to return to work, and checked in with quick texts or calls. But even Renee seemed guarded. Every time Danielle asked about Marcus's old job or people from his past, Renee would quickly change the subject. "It's best to let it go," she'd say. "What good does digging do?" Danielle hadn't thought much of it before. Grief made people strange. Some people didn't like to talk about the dead, but now she wondered, was Renee protecting someone or hiding something? One afternoon at work, Danielle stared at a thick file on her desk. Her eyes burned from lack of sleep. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, but her mind was somewhere else. Her boss's voice snapped her back. "Danielle, those reports aren't going to finish themselves," Mr. Kramer said, not looking up. "Right. Sorry," she mumbled. He sighed. "You've been off lately. If you need time, take it. But we need you sharp here. Understood?" She nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. "Yes, sir." That night she came home to find Tyler already in his room. She knocked softly. "Dinner's ready," she said. "I'm not hungry," he called back. "You sure?" "Yeah." She stood there for a few seconds, staring at the closed door. It felt like it was made of stone. She thought about knocking again, about asking him directly what was going on. But fear stopped her, fear of what he might say. Later she sat alone at the dinner table, picking at her food. The kitchen light buzzed softly overhead. On the wall hung a photo of her, Marcus, and Tyler at the beach, smiling, sunburned, arms around each other. She had kept it there as a reminder that life had once been good. But tonight, even that felt like a lie. Did Marcus have secrets? Was she the only one who didn't know? She used to think she knew everything about her husband, but now, those words from Tyler echoed in her mind. If she finds out what he did, it's over. Something about her life didn't add up anymore. And no matter how much it hurt, Danielle knew she had to find out the truth. The next morning, Danielle made pancakes. She thought maybe something warm and familiar would help. When Tyler came into the kitchen, she smiled and slid a plate in front of him. "Sleep okay?" she asked. "Yeah," he said, picking up a fork without looking at her. She sat across from him, pretending to eat. Her heart beat fast, but she kept her voice calm. "Tyler, can I ask you something?" she said gently. He paused. "Okay. Last night, when we were on the phone, I think you forgot to hang up." He froze. His fork stopped mid-air. "I heard someone," she went on. "A girl. And I heard what you said. About me not knowing. About your dad." Tyler stood up suddenly, chair scraping loudly. "You were spying on me." "No, I wasn't." The call stayed on. Mum? Seriously? You're reading into stuff again. You always do this." "I heard what I heard," she said softly. "You're imagining things," he snapped, then stormed back to his room and slammed the door. Danielle sat there, staring at his empty plate. Her hands shook, and her heart felt heavy. She didn't want to fight. She didn't want to spy. But something was going on, and she couldn't ignore it anymore. That night, after Tyler went to sleep, she remembered the old tablet he used to play games on. It was buried in the hall drawer under old mail and broken pens. She charged it and waited. At midnight, when she was sure the house was quiet, she turned it on. Most of it was empty. A few games, a school app, but then she found it. A folder tucked away deep in the storage. It was named Notes. Inside was a single audio file. She played it. "I told you, Tyler," a woman's voice said. "Your mom can never know about the settlement." Danielle's mouth went dry. She played it again, then again. Settlement? Who was this woman? Why would Tyler be talking to her? And what settlement? Her chest tightened. She needed answers. And there was only one person left who might tell her the truth. The next morning, she called Renee and asked her to come by. Renee arrived with coffee and a worried look. Danielle didn't waste time. "I need to ask you something," she said, "and I need you to be honest." Renee sat down slowly. "Okay, there's a woman, Adriana. She left a message for Tyler. She said I can't know about a settlement. What is she talking about?" Renee's face changed instantly. Her hands curled around the coffee cup. "Danielle, I don't think... Please, just tell me." Renee looked like she was fighting with herself. "You need to let Marcus rest," she said quietly. "Please don't dig this up." Danielle's voice rose. "He's dead, Renee. But this isn't resting. This is secrets. This is lies." Renee stood. "I can't help you. I'm sorry." And she walked out. Danielle sat frozen for a long time. She felt sick, but also more sure than ever that she had to keep going. That afternoon, she called an old friend from Marcus's law firm, Frank Turner. He used to work in records. "Danielle," he said, "it's been a while. What's going on? I need to ask about something. About Marcus." There was a pause. "Okay. Was there ever a settlement? Something he was involved in?" Frank sighed. "There was a sealed court record. I remember seeing his name once, but it was locked tight. I didn't think anything of it. Do you remember what kind of case it was?" He hesitated. "Honestly, I think it was a financial case. Money missing. Embezzlement maybe. But like I said, it was sealed." Danielle thanked him and hung up. She stared at the wall. Her mind spun. Marcus. Money. Secrets. Another woman. A settlement. This wasn't just about Tyler hiding something. This was bigger, deeper. This was betrayal. And it had been hiding under her nose for years. Danielle stood outside the tall glass building where Marcus used to work. It had been years since she'd stepped foot inside. Her stomach twisted, but she forced herself to breathe and walked through the doors. At the front desk, she smiled politely. "Hi, I'm here for a meeting with records. They're expecting me," she lied. The young receptionist nodded and handed her a visitor badge. "Take the elevator to the 5th floor." Danielle's hands were shaking as she stepped inside the elevator. Her lie had worked, at least for now. When she reached the records office, it was quiet. A few assistants were moving boxes and filing paperwork. Danielle approached a woman at a desk. "Hi, I'm looking for an archived case file. My late husband, Marcus Harper, used to work here. I just need to double-check something for legal reasons." The woman looked bored. "Name on the file? Harper. Marcus Harper. It would have been a civil case. I think it was settled." The woman typed on her keyboard. After a few moments, she frowned. "There's one sealed case with that name. Very limited access. Can I see it?" The woman hesitated, then shrugged. "I can let you view the summary. That's all." Danielle waited, heart racing. A few minutes later, the woman handed her a printout. There it was. A former client, a wealthy businesswoman, had accused Marcus of stealing funds from a trust account. The case never went to court. A large settlement had been paid, confidential, no trial, no press. Danielle's hands went cold. She felt like she was falling. Marcus had been sued for embezzlement, and she had known nothing. Why didn't he tell her? Why did he keep this secret? And where had the money come from? The questions spun in her head as she drove home. Her chest was tight, her vision blurry. Over the next few days, Tyler grew even more distant. He left the house late, came home even later. Danielle asked where he was going, but he barely answered. "Out," he'd say, or "just with friends." One evening, she saw him whispering on the phone in the backyard. She stayed out of sight and listened. His voice was low, angry. "You said this would be over. You said she'd never find out," he said. Danielle's heart dropped. Later that night, Tyler said he was going to the store. Danielle waited 5 minutes, then followed him. She felt strange, like a spy in her own life, but she had to know what was happening. She kept her distance as he walked to a nearby gas station. There, under the dim lights, stood a woman, young, dark hair, sharp eyes. Adriana. Danielle had never seen her before, but she knew it was her. She watched as Tyler pulled an envelope from his jacket and handed it to her. Adriana looked inside, then nodded. They spoke for a moment, then went their separate ways. Danielle's heart was racing. She waited until Tyler left, then approached Adriana before she could get into her car. "Adriana?" she asked, her voice tight. The woman turned slowly, cautious. "Who's asking?" "I'm Danielle Harper, Marcus's wife." Adriana's eyes widened, then narrowed. "What do you want?" "I want the truth. No more lies. No more games." Adriana looked around, then sighed. "He didn't tell you anything, did he?" "Number he didn't." Adriana leaned against her car. "I was Marcus's paralegal, and yes, we were involved, but it wasn't just an affair. He promised things. He said he would take care of me, of both our families." Danielle felt like she couldn't breathe. The settlement, the money, was it from the firm? Adriana looked down. "He moved it, quietly. I didn't know all the details, but when the client found out, he panicked, paid her off, told me he did it for us." Danielle was silent for a long time. "I didn't want this," Adriana added softly. "But when he died, I was left with nothing. Tyler, he reached out. He said he wanted to help. Why would my son give you money?" Danielle asked, barely holding herself together. "Because he found out the truth, and he thought it was the right thing to do." Danielle turned away, eyes full of tears. Her whole life had been a lie. Marcus had betrayed her, betrayed his oath as a lawyer, and used their son to cover it up. She drove home in silence, not even realizing she was crying until she tasted salt on her lips. Everything was breaking. Her trust in Marcus, in Tyler, even in Renee, gone. That night, she sat at the kitchen table, staring at the envelope Tyler had left on the counter. It was empty now, but it spoke volumes. She couldn't keep this quiet anymore. She reached for her phone and scrolled to an old contact. Rachel Hayes, a journalist she used to know back when she worked part-time editing legal papers for local publications. Danielle hadn't spoken to her in years, but if anyone could help her uncover this mess, it was Rachel. She took a deep breath and pressed call. When Rachel answered, Danielle's voice was calm but firm. "Rachel, I think I have a story for you, and it's a buy. Rachel called Danielle 2 days later. Her voice was calm, but serious. I found something, she said, and it's going to hurt. Danielle sat down on her bed. Tell me. Adriana wasn't just Marcus's paralegal. She was pregnant. She had the baby 4 years ago. A boy. Danielle didn't speak. She couldn't. Her mouth was dry. Her chest felt tight again, just like it had when Marcus died. Rachel continued. I checked the birth certificate. The father's name is left blank, but Adriana was listed at the same address Marcus rented under another name. I have the paperwork. Danielle covered her mouth, her heart pounding. Tyler knew, didn't he? Yes, Rachel said. I think that's what he's been hiding. Danielle hung up and sat in silence. Her mind raced back to that call. She still doesn't know, does she? And it all made sense now. Tyler hadn't just been hiding a lie. He was protecting a child, his half-brother. Her hands shook as she got up and walked to Tyler's room. She knocked softly. Can we talk? She asked. Tyler looked tired, guilty, but he nodded. They sat in the living room. Danielle looked at her son, who suddenly seemed much older than 16. I know about the child, she said gently. Tyler's face crumbled. His shoulders dropped. He didn't speak right away. Finally, he whispered, I didn't want to lie to you. You did. I know, he said, voice cracking. But Dad made me promise. Before he died, he said you couldn't know. He said you'd break. Danielle's eyes filled with tears. You were just a kid. I met him. The boy. His name is Sam. Adriana introduced us. He's sweet. He looks like Dad. Danielle held her breath. She couldn't hate the child. He was innocent. But the pain of knowing Marcus had hidden this, left behind another life, was almost too much to carry. I was trying to help, Tyler said. That's why I gave Adriana the money. She couldn't afford the rent anymore. And Dad made me swear to protect them. Danielle closed her eyes. Her world was broken, but she could see it clearly now. Marcus hadn't just betrayed her. He'd pulled Tyler into his lies too. But there was more. A question she had been avoiding. Later that evening, Rachel came by with copies of legal documents. There's one more thing, she said. It's about the settlement. Danielle looked through the papers. One form had her name at the bottom, her own signature, but she'd never signed it. Rachel looked at her sadly. He used your name, Danielle, on the agreement that moved the stolen funds. If this gets out, they could say you were involved. Danielle felt the air leave her lungs. He made me legally responsible. Yes, if someone wanted to press charges, you could be pulled in. It would be hard to prove you didn't know. Danielle stared at the page. Her name was there, in perfect handwriting. It was a trap. Marcus had protected himself with her identity. Even in death, he had kept control. She stood up, shaky but certain. So, if I stay quiet, she said, no one finds out. I keep my reputation, my job. Rachel nodded. But if I go public, if I tell the truth, people will ask questions. I might lose everything. Rachel didn't speak. Danielle looked out the window. The sun was setting. The light made everything look gold, soft, beautiful, even with so much pain inside her. She had a choice to make. Stay silent and keep living in Marcus's shadow, or speak the truth, no matter the cost. Danielle made her choice. She picked up the phone and called Rachel. Let's do it, she said. I want the story out. Over the next few days, they worked together. Danielle gave Rachel everything she had. The emails, the voicemail, the documents with her forged signature. It was hard. Each file felt like another cut, another wound opening again. But she kept going. The article was published on a Monday morning. The headline was strong and honest. Wife of dead attorney speaks out on secret settlements and betrayal. Danielle's name was out there now. So was Marcus's. People began talking. Some called her brave, others called her foolish. But for the first time in years, Danielle felt free. She wasn't hiding anymore. She took a deep breath and went to see Adriana. They met in a small cafe. The air between them was tense, but quiet. I don't hate you, Danielle said, her voice soft. But I don't forgive you either. Adriana looked tired, older than Danielle remembered. I never wanted to hurt you. I believed him too. They sat for a few minutes without speaking. Finally, Adriana said, thank you for not turning this into a war. Danielle nodded. We both lost him, but I won't let him keep hurting me, or my son. That night, Danielle sat down with Tyler again. She told him everything, about the article, about the legal risks, about the truth. Tyler listened quietly. Then he reached for her hand. I'm sorry I kept it from you. I know, Danielle said, but I think we can fix this. Together. They hugged. For the first time in a long while, she felt her son truly with her again. A few days later, Renee came over. Her face was pale, her eyes full of guilt. I should have told you, she said. I knew something was wrong. I just didn't want to believe it. Danielle looked at her. For years, Renee had been like a sister, but she had chosen silence. I need space, Danielle said. Maybe forever. Renee nodded. She didn't fight it. Danielle also made another decision. She quit her job. She couldn't keep working for someone who didn't value her, who piled pressure on her like she didn't matter. Instead, she used her savings and started a small legal non-profit. It was slow at first, but it felt right. She focused on helping women like her, women whose partners had made bad choices, but who had been left to carry the weight alone. Each case she worked on made her feel stronger. Weeks passed. Then one morning, Danielle woke up, made coffee, and sat by the window. The sun was shining through the trees. The world was quiet. No lies, no secrets, just peace. She took a deep breath and smiled. She was still healing, but she was finally free. The sky was grey when Danielle drove to the cemetery. The wind was soft, brushing her hair as she stepped out of the car. She didn't bring flowers. She didn't come to cry. She came to speak. She stood in front of Marcus's headstone for a long moment. The name, the dates, the words carved in stone. They felt distant now, like they belonged to someone she used to know. She took a deep breath. You lied to me, she said quietly. You made promises and you broke them. You left me with pain, with confusion, with your mess. Her voice didn't shake. She didn't cry. You hurt Tyler. You made him carry things a child should never have to carry. And you hurt me in ways I'm still learning to understand. She paused, placing her hand over her heart. But I'm still standing. I survived your lies. I faced your secrets, and I told the truth. Her eyes stayed on the stone. She didn't expect an answer. She didn't need one. I'm not yours anymore, she said. You don't control me. Not now. Not ever again. Then she turned. She didn't look back. Tyler was waiting by the car, hands in his pockets. When she reached him, he held out his hand. She took it. No words were needed. The silence between them was full, not empty, strong, not broken. Together, they walked back to the car. The wind moved gently through the trees. Danielle opened the door and looked up at the sky one more time. She didn't feel lost anymore. She felt free. Thanks so much for staying till the end. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, leave a comment, and subscribe for more. See you next time. Bye.